Kalista, the hero of Elado. Long ago, the kingdom of Elado flourished as a land where humans and outcasts lived in harmony. Outcasts, beings with extraordinary powers, used their abilities to help humans thrive. They summoned rain to nourish crops, moved boulders to build cities, and brought light to the darkest corners of the kingdom. But as the outcasts' powers grew, so did human fear. Stories of outcasts' abilities being misused spread like wildfire, fueling distrust. The human king, driven by paranoia, declared war, armed with weapons designed to suppress the outcasts. Humans launched a brutal campaign. Outcasts fought valiantly but were overwhelmed. Many were captured or killed, and the survivors fled deep into the forests, vowing never to return. The humans, proud of their victory, proclaimed Elado free from the monstrous outcasts. Years after the war, King Alderaan and Queen Selene rejoiced at the birth of their first child, Princess Kalista. Seers declared her the kingdom's future, a leader destined to bring prosperity to Elado. Kalista grew up surrounded by love and the weight of expectation. From a young age, she was taught about the kingdom's history, how humans had fought bravely to protect their land from the evil outcasts. She believed every word. Outcasts are dangerous. My child, her father often said. They bring nothing but chaos. Your duty is to protect Elado from their return. Kalista, eager to please her parents, vowed to uphold this duty. On her 10th birthday, a grand celebration filled the palace with laughter and joy. But Kalista felt restless, slipping away from the festivities. She wandered into the palace garden, seeking solitude. As she touched a rose petal covered in dew, the droplets began to move. They danced in the air, forming a shimmering ribbon of water that swirled around her hand. Kalista gasped. She tried to stop, but the water obeyed her every thought. Panic gripped her. This can't be, she whispered. I'm one of them. Determined to hide her powers, Kalista practiced in secret, using the palace baths as her training ground. She learned to control the water, but her fear of discovery grew with each passing day. One day, while exploring beyond the palace walls, Kalista ventured into the forbidden forest. She stumbled upon a hidden camp, where a group of outcasts lived in secrecy. They recoiled at the sight of her royal attire, ready to attack. Wait! Kalista cried, raising her hands. I'm not here to harm you. The outcasts hesitated, sensing no malice in her words. An elder named Alara stepped forward. Why are you here, princess? Kalista hesitated but decided to tell the truth. I have powers. Like you. The outcasts listened as she shared her fears. They, in turn, told her of their suffering, the war, the loss of their homes, and the hatred they endured. Kalista's heart ached. These were not monsters. They were victims. Kalista's visits to the forest became frequent. But secrets have a way of revealing themselves. One evening, Queen Selene followed her daughter and witnessed Kalista practicing her powers. Horrified, the queen confronted her. You're an outcast, she demanded. Do you know what this means for the kingdom? Kalista tried to explain, but the queen refused to listen. King Alderaan, upon learning the truth, ordered Kalista to be confined to the palace. Feeling betrayed, Kalista used her powers to escape. She fled to the Forbidden Forest, seeking refuge among the outcasts. In the forest, Kalista was welcomed by the outcasts she had befriended. For the first time, she felt a sense of belonging. Allura and others helped her hone her abilities, teaching her the value of her powers. But not everyone trusted her. Mimus, a powerful outcast who could control fire, viewed her as a threat. "She's one of them," he warned. "She'll betray us." Kalista worked tirelessly to prove her loyalty, helping the outcasts rebuild their community. Slowly, she earned their trust, even as tensions simmered beneath the surface. Mimus, embittered by years of oppression, began rallying others to his cause. "We've suffered long enough," he declared. "It's time to take back what's ours." He planned to raise an army and attack Elado. Many outcasts, tired of hiding, supported him. But Kalista and Anas, a calm and wise outcast, opposed the plan. "War will only bring more pain," Kalista argued. "We can find another way." Mimus saw her as an obstacle. He imprisoned Kalista and her allies, determined to silence any opposition. Imprisoned deep within the caves, Kalista refused to give up. Using her powers, she freed herself and the others. Together, they staged a daring escape, avoiding traps and guards as they fled through the labyrinthine tunnels. Mimus discovered their escape and pursued them, his fiery rage lighting up the darkness. "You can't run from me," he roared. Kalista confronted him, buying time for her allies to flee. Though outmatched, she held her ground, using her water to counter his flames. Finally, she and her group escaped into the forest, leaving Mimus fuming. Kalista and her companions emerged from the forest, their resolve firm despite the weariness weighing them down. The path to Elado was treacherous, with the aftermath of Mimus' destruction evident in every village they passed. Homes lay in ruins, fields were scorched, and people wandered aimlessly, displaced by the chaos. In one village, Kalista encountered a young boy searching desperately through the rubble. "My sister, she's trapped," he cried. Without hesitation, Kalista and Anas sprang into action. Anas used his power to move the heavy stones, while Kalista manipulated water to douse the lingering flames. Together, they freed the girl, earning the gratitude of the villagers. Word of Kalista's actions began to spread. People whispered about the princess who wielded the powers of an outcast but fought for peace. Refugees and survivors slowly gathered around her, inspired by her courage. As the group grew, Kalista took on the role of a leader, comforting those who had lost everything and rallying them with her vision of unity. But not everyone welcomed her. Some humans, still harboring prejudice, accused her of bringing calamity. "This is your fault," one man shouted. "If not for your kind, this kingdom would be safe." Kalista faced these accusations with quiet strength, knowing that only her actions could change their hearts. As Kalista's group approached the gates of Elado, tension filled the air. The guards, recognizing her as the princess, hesitated, Some reached for their weapons, uncertain whether to welcome or arrest her. "I need to speak with the king and queen," Kalista said, her voice steady. "Mimus is coming, and we don't have much time." The guards escorted her to the palace. Kalista's companions stayed outside, watching as she walked through the gates. Her shoulders squared against the weight of what was to come. Inside, the court was in uproar at the sight of her. Whispers of treachery and betrayal echoed through the grand hall. Kalista knelt before her parents, her heart pounding. "Mother, Father," she began. "I've seen the destruction Mimus has caused. He won't stop until Elado is reduced to ashes. We must unite, humans and outcasts, if we're to survive." The king's face was grim. "You expect us to trust the very beings who once tried to destroy us?" he asked. "Not all outcasts are like Mimus," Kalista replied. "They are not our enemies. Fear and hatred have blinded us for too long. If we don't stand together, we will all perish." Queen Celine's voice trembled with emotion. "You ask us to put our faith in those who wield the same powers that have brought us so much pain. I ask you to put your faith in me," Kalista said. "Let me show you that peace is possible." The room fell silent. After what felt like an eternity, King Alderaan nodded. "We will give you a chance. But if you're wrong, the cost will be unimaginable." Kalista wasted no time. She worked tirelessly to build trust between humans and outcasts. She and Anos traveled to nearby camps, convincing outcasts to join their cause. Many were reluctant, still haunted by the wounds of the past. But Kalista's determination won them over. Back in Elado, Kalista organized training camps where humans and outcasts trained side by side. She paired warriors from both groups, emphasizing the importance of unity. An outcast who could summon wind learned to shield human archers, while human swordsmen protected outcasts who wielded fire. There were moments of friction. Old prejudices flared, and fights broke out. But Kalista was always there, mediating disputes and reminding everyone of the greater threat. Slowly, a fragile but growing bond formed between the two groups. One evening, Kalista gathered everyone around a campfire. "This isn't just a fight for survival," she said, her voice carrying over the crackling flames. "This is a fight for the future. For a world where our children won't grow up hating each other. Together, we can make that world a reality." Her words resonated deeply, and the alliance solidified. At dawn, scouts reported Mimus' army approaching. The horizon glowed with the eerie light of flames, and the ground trembled under the march of his forces. Kalista stood atop the city walls, her heart heavy but resolute. Elado's defenses were prepared. Humans and outcasts manned the walls together, their weapons ready. Anos and the other outcasts fortified the city with barriers of earth and wind. Archers, shielded by outcast powers, took their positions. It was a sight that had once seemed impossible, two groups, once enemies, now standing as one. Mimus' army arrived, and the battle began. Flames roared as his loyalists unleashed their powers. But Kalista and her forces countered with a unified strength. Kalista herself led the charge, her water quelling the fires and protecting those around her. Despite their efforts, Mimus' power was overwhelming. He unleashed a wave of flames that engulfed the battlefield, forcing Kalista to summon every ounce of her strength to keep it at bay. Even as her body trembled with exhaustion, she refused to give in. As the battle raged on, Mimus confronted Kalista directly. "You think you can stop me?" he sneered. "Your ideals are weak. Only power can rule this world." Kalista faced him, her gaze unwavering. "Power without purpose is meaningless," she said. "I'll end this, even if it costs me everything." Realizing she couldn't defeat Mimus with raw strength, Kalista made a fateful decision. She allowed her body to dissolve into water, becoming a living torrent that surged toward Mimus. The water extinguished his flames, dousing his power and rendering him defenseless. Mimus collapsed, defeated. But Kalista's watery form did not reform. Her companions watched in horror as she faded away, her sacrifice etched into their hearts. The battlefield fell silent. Mimus' army, leaderless and demoralized, surrendered. Humans and outcasts stood side by side, mourning Kalista's loss. Her sacrifice had saved Elado, but it had also left a void. In the days that followed, King Alderaan and Queen Selene publicly acknowledged their mistakes. They repealed the laws that oppressed outcasts and declared a new era of unity. Humans and outcasts worked together to rebuild the kingdom, their shared grief transforming into hope. One morning, a miracle occurred. In the palace garden, a spring of water appeared, glowing with a gentle light. From it, Kalista emerged, reborn through her powers. Her return was met with tears and cheers, as she became the living symbol of unity. Kalista's sacrifice had changed the hearts of her people. Elado entered a golden age, where humans and outcasts lived and worked together, proving that peace was not just a dream but a reality. And so, the story of Kalista, the princess who became a hero, lived on, inspiring generations to come.